What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and we are now days away from the Rings of Power releasing on Amazon. And boy, oh boy, has Amazon pulled out all of the stops. They have done whatever they could in their marketing campaign to make people want to watch this show. And by doing whatever they could, I mean they basically just went out here and was like, hey everyone, we're better than Tolkien. We're more diverse than Tolkien. Please watch our show or you are a bad person. Yes, that is what we have now come to. And we all saw it coming. It happens time and time again in these franchises. When they realize that the fans, the real fans, are rejecting their products and they realize there's nothing else they can do, they resort to saying, hey, you're an ist. You're a phobe. You hate women. You hate these people. You hate those people. Because that's all they can do. They can't fathom the fact that real fans of a property don't want someone coming in and changing everything about that property. They can't even fathom that. So no, you must be a bad person. If you have any criticisms about the Rings of Power, you must be an ist. You must hate people with a different skin color than you. You must hate people that are different than you simply because you don't want Amazon changing everything you know about Middle-earth, about Tolkien's work. But you know what? I find that kind of funny. Because on one hand, we have the real fans who are calling out all of this woke nonsense that they are trying to do to the Lord of the Rings and to Tolkien's work. And on the other hand, we have this group of people who believe that they are better than Tolkien. That they believe that by inserting random people of color and people of different genders and sexualities into Tolkien's work, that makes it better. That makes it more virtuous. And they believe that if you have a problem with it, then you're an ist, you're a phobe, you're a bad person. But let's really think about Tolkien's work overall. What is The Lord of the Rings? What is The Hobbit? What is Tolkien's work if not a discussion about racial relations? You see, I find it funny that these people feel the need to interject or to inject Tolkien's work with all of this modern day politics and all of this discussion about equity and agency and race and what have you, when in reality, Tolkien's work was already about race in many ways. Tolkien's work was about the various races of Middle-earth, setting aside their differences, coming together to fight a common enemy, that enemy being evil overall. Tolkien's work acknowledged that these various races in Middle-earth, they were different. They had different traits. They looked different. Hell, they even added stereotypes for the various races within Tolkien's work, or Tolkien added stereotypes to these various races within his work. Oftentimes, we would have dwarves and elves throwing racial slurs at each other, making fun of each other because of the various stereotypes that were attached to their races of characters. But it was all beautiful. It was timeless. It had nothing to do with the SJW politics of today. In fact, back then, they didn't even know what an SJW was. Yet Tolkien made this story a beautiful story. A beautiful story about how people and creatures of different shapes and sizes and races can come together and have more in common than they think. Gimli and Legolas, they hated each other at first. They would say awful mean things to each other. They would make fun of each other's race. They literally would. However, they became the best of friends and ultimately realized that while they were different, they had a lot in common. And at the very least, they were good people who winded up loving each other and forming a bond. Now you could see that in the movies somewhat as well. So it's just really funny to me that this whole conversation surrounding the Rings of Power have been about, we're putting this race in here and this race and people of color, this and that. And none of them even thought for a second to acknowledge that Tolkien himself did more for racial relations than anything they ever will. Anything that they ever will. These actors and actresses and showrunners and writers attached to the Rings of Power, they all think they're activists and they're doing the Lord's work. They're being so progressive. Nah, fam. Nah, that's not true. You're not being progressive. You're destroying someone else's work. Meanwhile, Tolkien literally created where we're at now in today's society. He laid all of this stuff out. Tolkien's work has always been adherently not racist when you really think about it. Tolkien's work, it appealed to people all over the world. This is one of the most published books in the history of Earth. People from every corner of the earth are reading this book. And hopefully, after reading this book, they're a better person. I like to think that some of the things that I have read throughout my life and watched throughout my life somewhat shaped me as a person or made me a better person as well. If you read Tolkien's book and you were just this hateful person that hated all other races, then obviously you kind of missed the point. And that's why this whole situation with the Rings of Power, it blows my mind completely. Because at the end of the day, Tolkien's work, it already said enough. It spoke for itself. And it literally had a lot to do with racial relations between the races of Middle-earth. Tolkien was having this discussion way before these SJWs decided to use this type of discussion to get across their points. In reality, these woke activists and SJWs, they don't care about racial relations. They don't care about the first POC, person of color. No, it's all about a different agenda. All of this talks about caring about women and people of color. That's the shield. That is nothing more than the shield. To shield them from criticism. Because their plans are way more sinister than you could ever think. They want to change our society as a whole. They want us eating bugs and living in pods and no longer leaving our homes. But that's the story for another day. But all of this talk about people of color and strong women and you're this and you're that, it's a shield. It's a shield to deflect them from criticism. And it's a shield to just be there to block you out from really seeing the true picture. I know a lot of people can be fooled, you know. Maybe there's some person at home that just, oh, well, these people actually care about people of color. I need to listen to these people. No, they don't care about you. They hate you. They want to use you as a weapon, as a shield, so they can eventually accomplish whatever type of sick, twisted stuff they're accomplishing or trying to accomplish. All of these shows and the destruction of everything you know and love, that's part of the process. They want to demoralize you. They want you to feel secluded, as if you can't look or turn anywhere without receiving their message. When they destroy Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Luke Skywalker, all of these heroes and characters we've looked up to, that's part of the destruction of our society. It's happening on purpose. They're destroying your heroes and everything you love on purpose. This isn't an accident. Oh no, it's far from that. You know, a couple of one-off bad movies and bad TV shows, you could chalk that up as an accident. When we are going on years worth of non-stop bogus movies and TV shows that aren't even turning a profit anymore, yet they continue pumping them out knowing that people don't like it, then you know that there's something far more sinister behind all of this. But getting back to my point, the reason why I made this video is because when you really sit down and think about it, and you really don't even have to think about it, if you ever read Tolkien's work, then you would realize what it was. And that it handled this delicate conversation perfectly. Tolkien did it better. Tolkien did it perfectly. And these people think that just because they're going to add this actress or this actor, that they're doing better than Tolkien's work. As if Tolkien didn't lay out the bricks and the pavement and just pave the way for where we're at now as a society as a whole. Tolkien was talking about, turbulent racial relations and how people need to come together in his work years ago, before anyone was caring about virtue signaling, before anyone was caring about this new woke message. Yet leave it up to these people, they would want you to believe that Tolkien's a bad person. Tolkien's a bad person because in his books that were literally about different races of creatures and people coming together to fight a common enemy, they want you to believe that he's an ist, that he's the bad person. Because his elves had fair skin and his hobbits were white. He's the bad person. Never mind the fact that at this point, almost 100 years ago, we're closing in, soon, we're damn near to 100 years ago, that Tolkien was already writing about racial relations. Tolkien was progressive back then. And that's what I find really funny. Because if you think about it, Tolkien's work is like everything these people should love. Really think about it. Tolkien's work literally is a perfect example of what these people should like and love. You have all of this talk about different races. These people are hung up on race. They love that. You have the elves, and some of them seem a little more feminine. And don't get me wrong, they're not feminine in the way that men are feminine these days, but there was a certain grace and beauty about them. There was a certain feminine quality even to the male elves. And that's something these people love. But that was not enough. It wasn't progressive enough. Unless you have a trans LGBTQ hobbit of color, you're an ist, you're a phobe, you're a bad person. And man, oh man, does this, it gets my blood boiling. But at the same time, this is a perfect example of no matter what, all they care about is destroying stuff. When they made the new Star Wars movies and the new Marvel movies and what have you, and they want to race swap some characters, or they want to include more characters of a certain color, or they want to include more strong female characters, that's one thing. But when you have Tolkien's work that's already been here, when it comes to Marvel and Star Wars, they're creating new stories still. Even though they're garbage, at least they're trying to create new stories in a way. You can't create new Tolkien. You just can't. Yeah, you could create a new Star Wars show. You can create a new Marvel show. You can't just create a new Tolkien. But why would you even need or want to change anything? If your message was really about equality, this is what I'm really getting at. If your message was really about equality, if your message was really about accepting people who are different than you, if your message is really about something to do with race and racial relations and how people need to come together, if you really wanted to get across that message, then faithfully adapting Tolkien's work is all you would have to do. It's literally all you would have to do. It was already right there laid out for you. But this is a perfect example of the fact that it doesn't matter. Racial relations and all of this stuff, that doesn't matter to these people. What matters is the total destruction of everything you love. Because if all of these talking points really mattered to these people, then Tolkien's work that was already there, it already did their job for them. They wouldn't have to go out of their way to destroy it, because the messages that they supposedly want to tell, it's already intertwined all within Tolkien's work. But that's not good enough, because these people don't want to create, they want to destroy. They want to destroy. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. How do you feel about everything I said here today? Do you disagree with how I viewed Tolkien's work? Don't get me wrong, when I sit down and I read Tolkien, it wasn't the main thing that was sticking out to me, but denying the fact that that is a part of Tolkien's work is just blasphemy, in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.